Hey Pokemon fans, I'm TheJWittz, and welcome to a new Pokemon Fact of the Day. So many months ago, I got a message from one of my fans asking about a peculiar event that she'd witnessed in one of her games. She referred to it as the Veilstones myth, and after reading what she had described, I kinda blew the message off because I thought, no, that's not my Pokemon games. Well, it turns out I was wrong. I went, researched it, and it turned out every word she said was true. Now, if you've heard this before, maybe it won't surprise you, but if you haven't, like I hadn't, it'll blow you away. So, let's take a look at some of the game's crazier in-game stories that are 100% true. The stories I've mentioned are as canon as can be, and can be found right in the Canalave library, which actually probably explains why most Pokemon fans have never heard of them. Let's be serious here. What do you want to do in your Pokemon game? Battle and save the world? Or read books? Well, today, we're gonna read some of the books. The majority of the tales are ones that most fans are aware of, simply through repeated mention outside of the library itself or through the movies. There are plenty of tomes on Arceus and the creation of Pokemon, space and time stories, tales about the Lake Trio, and so on. But tucked within these seemingly normal Pokemon origin stories are a few tales that seem too ridiculous to be true. Today, we'll be focusing on the Veilstones myth and the Sinnoh folktales. Gather around as we read and analyze. Veilstones myth. A young man, callow and foolish in innocence, came to own a sword. With it, he smote Pokémon, which gave sustenance with carefree abandon. Those not taken as food, he discarded with no afterthought. The following year, no Pokémon appeared. Larders grew bare. The young man, seeking the missing Pokémon, journeyed afar. Long did he search, and far and wide too, until one he did find. Asked he, "Why do you hide?" To which the Pokémon replied, "If you bear your sword to bring harm upon us, with claws and fangs we will exact a toll. From your kind we will take our toll, for it must be done. Done it must be to guard ourselves, and for it I apologize." To the skies the young man shouted his dismay. "In having found this sword, I have lost so much. Gorged with power, I grew blind to Pokémon being alive. I will never fall savage again. This sword I denounce and forsake. I plead for forgiveness, for I was but a fool." So saying, the young man hurled the sword to the ground, snapping it. Seeing this, the Pokémon disappeared to a place beyond seeing. What? So let me get this straight. Man finds sword, kills a bunch of Pokemon with it, sometimes just for the fun of it. Pokemon comes, says, "Hey, cut that out." He says sorry. The end. I don't really know what this story even means. It's very likely that the Pokemon in the story is Darkrai because of the claws, his proximity to Veilstone, the name of the myth, and the ability to leave to a place beyond seeing. But that's about all I've got. Some argue that the story explains the reason why no one in the Pokemon universe uses physical weaponry, although it looks like Team Rocket never got that memo. Either way you look at it, this is really a strange tale, and possibly the most violent story to be told directly through a Pokemon game. Next up are the Sinnoh folktales, which each reveal a little bit about Pokemon and their origins. Sinnoh Folk Story 1. Pick clean the bones of Pokemon caught in the sea or stream. Thank them for the meals they provide, and pick their bones clean. When the bones are as clean as can be, set them free in the water from which they came. The Pokemon will return, fully fleshed, and it begins anew. Wow, already starting off with a doozy, eh? Well, there's no questioning it. Pokemon are definitely eaten within the main canon of the games, or at least were eaten at some point. Now at face value, maybe that isn't too weird considering that most of us eat animals every day. But most cultures have a separation between food animals and companion animals. For example, it's acceptable in most cultures to eat the meat from a cow, but the average household doesn't keep cows as pets. We do keep dogs as pets though, and it's considered highly socially disgusting in most cultures to eat dog. In Pokemon, every creature in the game has the ability to be tamed, so it does kind of come off as kinda odd that they were eaten at some point. That being said, this might have been long in Pokemon's past. Like I said in my last top 10 video, some trainers even remember the time before Pokeballs, where capturing Pokemon required a lot of hard work. It's very possible not all species were tameable yet. But if we're to look at the story at face value, it's one that warns not to be wasteful. You pick the bones clean in order to not waste the life of the creature that is providing food to you, and you thank it for the meal. According to the myth, doing this perpetuates a circle of life. It's odd, but it's pretty deep stuff when you consider that this is a game targeted toward children. Sinnoh Folk Story 2. There lived a Pokémon in a forest. In the forest, the Pokémon shed its hide to sleep as a human. Awakened, the human dons Pokémon hide to roam villages. Well, there isn't really much to say about this one, other than that it seems to suggest that humans evolved from Pokémon. Or more accurately, humans metamorphosized from Pokémon, since Pokémon evolution is much more similar to metamorphosis than what the word evolution typically implies. Alright, screw the science behind it. Humans came from Pokémon, and a story. Sinnoh Folk Story 3. There once were Pokémon that became very close to humans. There once were humans and Pokémon that ate together at the same table. It was a time when there existed no differences to distinguish the two. Now, at face value, this seems to suggest more of the same. Pokémon and humans were closely related and lived together. But the Japanese text seems to imply marriage between human and Pokémon. Briefly paraphrasing, it says something along the lines of, humans and Pokémon used to marry, but it wasn't weird because they were basically the same thing. So while the last myth seemed to suggest a metamorphosis from human to Pokémon, this myth seems to suggest something closer to actual evolution, hinting that both Pokémon and humans share a common ancestor. Now, these stories might not even be true within the Pokémon world. After all, I think it's pretty commonly accepted that in our world, Greek mythology didn't actually happen. But they definitely are interesting stories considering the game's simple nature. And to be able to find these stories straight from the Pokémon games themselves makes these Sinnoh myths a really cool gem worth sharing to those who haven't heard them before. Thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, be sure to click that subscribe button right below me so that you can get alerts when my new videos are coming out. Or you can check out some of my other channels over here to the side. I'm going to be gone at PAX East for the next couple of days, so no videos until it's over. If you are at PAX East though, I'd love to come and meet you. I will be dressed up like Red and Ash over 2 of the days. I'm very tall, and I'll also be at most of the things that the game station is hosting. Be sure to look at my Twitter, it's in the description, because I will let you guys know when they're going to do their whole fan meetup thing. So yeah, thanks for watching, hope to see you guys at PAX, and if not, I'll see you guys in about a week.